When I saw my husband scrolling through my phone, my heart skipped a beat, but not from fear of being caught. It was because of what he might see. Those messages I forgot to delete. I tried to snatch the phone from his hands, but he pulled it back smoothly and kept reading. I watched his face change as he read line after line, feeling my life crumble in mere seconds. Yes, now he would learn the truth. But not the whole truth. His hands trembled as he scrolled further, and I knew right now he would reach that message that would destroy my life. That one message that would explain everything and put a final period. Or maybe confuse him even more. My phone suddenly vibrated in his hands, and a new notification appeared on the screen. I saw his face go pale as he read the sender's name. My husband froze. Didn't even blink. I bit the inside of my cheek, an old habit when I'm nervous. My nerves mixed with the horror of realizing what I had done. His breathing quickened. I could hear it even from the 6 feet separating us. This was exactly what I feared most. Because 3 months ago I made a mistake that changed absolutely everything forever, and now. I didn't know what to do, but let me tell you how it really was. Before I share with you the secret I tried so carefully to hide for so long, write in the comments what city you're watching this video from, and also answer this question: have you ever had a secret you tried to hide with all your might, but in the end you couldn't keep it hidden? I never thought I'd become one of those women who count the years since their husband last really looked at them. 22 years of marriage, and Jack still kisses me goodbye every morning before heading to his law firm. Still asks how my day was when he comes home. Still reaches for my hand during our Saturday evening walks around the neighborhood. From the outside, we're the picture-perfect couple that our friends at the country club envy. But there's something missing, something I can't quite name. It's not that Jack doesn't love me, I know he does, in his steady, reliable way. It's more like we've become roommates who share a mortgage and a daughter. The spark that once ignited between us has dimmed to barely glowing embers, and I find myself wondering if this is just what happens after 2 decades together. Our daughter Sarah is home from college for the summer, and watching her experience her first real relationship reminds me of what Jack and I used to have. The way her eyes light up when her boyfriend texts, the flush on her cheeks when she talks about him, I can barely remember feeling that way. Sometimes I catch myself staring at young couples in restaurants, observing their body language, the way they lean into each other, how they laugh at each other's jokes as if they're the funniest things they've ever heard. Jack's father, William, moved in with us 6 months ago after his wife, Jack's mother, passed away suddenly from a heart attack. At 68, William is still a handsome man, distinguished in that old-world way that men of his generation carry themselves. Silver hair perfectly styled, always dressed as if he might run into the Queen at the grocery store. He was devoted to Margaret for 40 years, and her loss has left him adrift in a way that breaks my heart. What strikes me most about William is how he notices things. Little things. He compliments my cooking, notices when I've changed my hair, asks about the book I'm reading. Yesterday, he told me the lavender blouse I was wearing brought out my eyes. When was the last time Jack noticed what I was wearing? I honestly can't remember. This morning, as I'm preparing breakfast, William joins me in the kitchen earlier than usual. He's an early riser, but typically waits until I have everything ready before appearing. Today, he moves around the kitchen with easy familiarity, helping without being asked. He knows where everything is now, after 6 months, but more than that, he seems to anticipate what I need before I need it. "You look tired, Elizabeth," he says, handing me the coffee mug I was reaching for. "Did you sleep well?" The simple concern in his voice catches me off guard. When Jack asks how I slept, it's perfunctory, part of his morning routine, like checking the weather on his phone. But William asks like he genuinely wants to know, like my answer matters to him. Not particularly, I admit, surprising myself with my honesty. Sometimes I lie awake wondering if this is all there is, you know? If I'll spend the rest of my life going through the same motions, day after day. William pauses in his task of setting the table, giving me his full attention. I understand that feeling more than you might think, he says quietly. After Margaret died, I wondered if the best parts of my life were behind me. If all I had left was existing. There's something in his voice, a vulnerability that makes my chest tighten. I realize we've never talked like this before, never moved beyond polite conversation and family logistics. There's an intimacy to this moment that feels both natural and dangerous. Jack appears in the doorway, already dressed for work, checking his phone. "Morning," he says without looking up. "Can you have my dry cleaning picked up today? I need the navy suit for the Henderson meeting tomorrow." Just like that, the spell is broken. I'm back to being the family coordinator, the one who manages the endless details of everyone else's life. But as Jack kisses my cheek and hurries out, I catch William watching me with an expression I can't quite read. The house feels different when it's just William and me. Sarah is at her summer job at the art gallery downtown, and Jack won't be home until late. He's having dinner with clients. We've had the whole afternoon together, and somehow we've fallen into an easy rhythm that surprises me. We've been working in the garden, something I usually do alone while listening to podcasts. But William has stories about each type of flower, memories of gardening with Margaret, and I find myself lingering over tasks that normally take minutes. The afternoon has stretched into early evening, and neither of us seems eager to break the spell. "Margaret would have loved your garden," he says, brushing dirt from his hands. "She always said she could tell everything about a person by how they tended their flowers." "And what would she have said about me?" I ask, genuinely curious. William considers this seriously, looking around at the beds I've carefully cultivated over the years. "That you're patient. That you nurture things without expecting immediate results. That you create beauty for its own sake, not for applause." He pauses, then adds more quietly, "that you're probably lonely." The observation hits me like a physical blow, not because it's cruel, but because it's true. I am lonely, desperately so, in a way I've been trying not to acknowledge even to myself. Is it that obvious? I ask, attempting lightness but hearing the tremor in my voice. "Only to someone who recognizes the feeling," he replies. "We're sitting on the garden bench now, the one Jack bought me for my 40th birthday but rarely joins me on. The evening air is warm, cicadas beginning their nightly chorus. William smells like the lavender soap from the guest bathroom and something else, something masculine and comforting that I want to breathe in deeper. Can I tell you something?" I say before I lose my courage. I sometimes imagine what it would be like to start over. To be someone's first choice again, not just their habit. "You should be someone's first choice," William says, and there's an intensity in his voice that makes me look at him properly. "Any man would be lucky to have your attention." The way he's looking at me, like he's seeing me, really seeing me, makes my pulse quicken. This is dangerous territory, but I can't seem to care. When was the last time someone looked at me like I was worth looking at? "Margaret wrote me a letter," he says suddenly. "Before she died, when she knew the end was coming. She told me not to stop living when she was gone. She said I had too much love left to give to spend the rest of my life alone." Do you think she meant that? I whisper. "I think Margaret was the wisest person I ever knew," he replies. The space between us on the bench seems to have shrunk. I can feel the warmth radiating from his body, can see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. This is madness. This is my husband's father, my daughter's grandfather. But when he reaches up to brush a strand of hair from my face, I don't pull away. "Elizabeth," he says my name like a prayer. I know, I breathe. "I know this is crazy." "Is it?" he asks. "Or is it the first honest thing either of us has felt in months?" When he leans toward me, I should stop this. I should remember my marriage vows, my family, all the reasons this is wrong. Instead, I close my eyes and let myself fall into this moment of feeling wanted, of feeling alive. We kissed. It's gentle at first, tentative, both of us giving the other a chance to pull away. But when I don't, when I lean into him instead, the kiss deepens into something hungry and desperate. I haven't been kissed like this in years, like I'm precious, like I'm desired, like I'm everything the person kissing me has been waiting for. When we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard. The magnitude of what just happened settles over us like a blanket, warm and terrifying. I should go inside, I whisper, but I don't move. Yes, he agrees, but his hand is still cupping my cheek. We sit there in the gathering dusk, both of us knowing that everything has changed and there's no taking it back. I barely sleep that night. I lie next to Jack, listening to his steady breathing, replaying every moment in the garden. The way William looked at me. The way he said my name. The way his lips felt against mine, tender and urgent and completely different from the perfunctory kisses I've grown accustomed to. I should feel guilty. I do feel guilty. But underneath the guilt is something else, something I haven't felt in so long I'd almost forgotten what it was like. I feel alive. I feel seen. I feel like a woman instead of just a wife and mother going through the motions of a life that sometimes feels like it belongs to someone else. Morning comes too soon and too slowly. Jack goes through his usual routine, shower, coffee, quick scan of the news on his phone. He kisses my forehead absently before leaving, the same way he has for years. I wonder if he can sense anything different about me, but he seems as oblivious as ever. Sarah bounces downstairs an hour later, full of energy and plans for her day. She chats about her coworkers at the gallery, about the cute guy who brought his dog in yesterday, about whether she should change her major from business to art history. I try to engage, to be the mother she deserves, but my mind keeps drifting to William. You're distracted today, Mom, Sarah observes, pausing in her rapid-fire monologue. Everything okay? Just tired, sweetheart, I lie smoothly. You know how it is. She studies me for a moment with those sharp eyes she inherited from Jack, then shrugs and returns to her breakfast. At 19, she's still young enough to believe that parents don't have real problems, that we exist primarily to solve hers. William appears in the kitchen just as Sarah is leaving for work. She hugs him goodbye, she's always been close to her grandfather, and suddenly we're alone again. The silence stretches between us, heavy with unspoken words. About last night, he begins, but I cut him off. It was a mistake, I say quickly, not looking at him. We both know that. Let's just pretend it never happened. But even as I say the words, I don't mean them. And from the way William is looking at me, I don't think he believes them either. Was it a mistake, he asks quietly? Or was it the most honest moment either of us has had in a long time? I busy myself with cleaning up Sarah's breakfast dishes, needing something to do with my hands. It doesn't matter how it felt. It can't happen again. Why not? The question hangs in the air between us. I turn to face him, ready to list all the obvious reasons. He's my father-in-law, I'm married to his son, this would destroy our family. But when I look into his eyes, all those rational arguments seem to crumble. Because, I whisper, but it sounds weak even to me. That's not a reason, Elizabeth. That's fear. He's right, and we both know it. I am afraid, terrified, actually. Afraid of what I'm feeling, afraid of what I want, afraid of the consequences if I give in to this pull between us. But I'm also afraid of going back to the numbness I've been living in, the slow fade of becoming invisible in my own life. Jack loves you, William says, stepping closer. But he takes you for granted. He has for years. And what exactly are you suggesting? I ask, though I think I already know. I'm suggesting that life is short. That happiness is rare. That sometimes the heart wants what it wants, regardless of what we think we should want. His hand touches mine where it rests on the counter, and that simple contact sends electricity up my arm. I should pull away. I should tell him this conversation ends now. Instead, I find myself thinking about Margaret's letter, about not stopping living, about having love left to give. This is insane, I breathe. Maybe he agrees. But I haven't felt this alive since Margaret died. And unless I'm very much mistaken, you haven't felt this way in a long time either. He's not wrong. Standing here with him, I feel like I'm waking up from a long sleep. The question is, am I brave enough to stay awake? The sound of the front door opening makes us spring apart. Jack's voice carries from the entryway, he's forgotten something and come back for it. William and I look at each other for one charged moment before Jack appears in the kitchen doorway. Hey, Dad. Elizabeth. Just grabbing my reading glasses, he says, rifling through the mail on the counter. He finds what he's looking for and heads back toward the door, pausing only to call over his shoulder, "Don't wait up tonight. The Henderson thing is going to run late." And then he's gone again, leaving William and me standing in the kitchen with the weight of unfinished conversation between us. I realize with a start that Jack didn't even really look at either of us. We could have been kissing when he walked in, and I'm not sure he would have noticed. The thought should horrify me. Instead, it makes my decision feel inevitable. The thought should horrify me. Instead, it makes my decision feel inevitable. I stand there in the kitchen, watching the space where Jack disappeared, and something crystallizes inside me. 22 years of marriage, and my husband just walked through a room where his wife and father were having the most charged conversation of their lives, and he noticed nothing. Not the tension crackling between us, not the way we sprang apart when he entered, not the flush on my cheeks or the way William's breathing had changed. He doesn't see me anymore, I say aloud, the words falling into the silence like stones into still water. William doesn't respond immediately, but I feel him watching me. When I finally turn to face him, there's something different in his expression. The uncertainty from moments before has been replaced by a quiet determination that makes my pulse quicken. "No," he says simply. He doesn't. The afternoon stretches ahead of us, empty and full of possibility. Sarah won't be home until evening, and Jack has made it clear he won't be back until late. For the first time since William moved in, we're truly alone with no interruptions expected. "Show me Margaret's letter," I hear myself say. William looks surprised, then nods slowly. "Wait here." He disappears upstairs, and I lean against the kitchen counter, my heart hammering against my ribs. I don't know what I'm doing, only that I can't seem to stop myself. When he returns, he's holding a cream-colored envelope, worn soft at the edges from handling. "Are you sure?" he asks. I nod, though I'm not sure of anything anymore. He unfolds the letter carefully, and I can see Margaret's elegant handwriting, the same script I remember from birthday cards and Christmas notes. William clears his throat softly and begins to read. "My dearest William, if you're reading this, then the inevitable has happened, and I'm no longer there to tell you these things myself. Don't you dare spend the rest of your life being a martyr to my memory. You have so much love left to give, so much life left to live. Find someone who makes you laugh again, who makes you remember what it feels like to be desired and needed and cherished. Promise me you won't let fear or guilt keep you from happiness. I've had 40 years of your love, that's more than most people get in a lifetime. But you still have years ahead of you, and I want them to be filled with joy, not just duty to my ghost." My eyes fill with tears as he reads, but they're not tears of sadness. They're tears of recognition, of understanding something I couldn't have articulated before. Margaret wasn't just giving William permission to love again, she was commanding him to choose life over mere existence. She sounds like she was an extraordinary woman, I whisper. She was. She would have liked you very much. William folds the letter carefully. She always said that love wasn't a finite resource. That loving someone new doesn't diminish what came before. We're standing closer now, drawn together by the intimacy of shared secrets. I can see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes, can smell his cologne mixed with the scent of the garden soil still clinging to his hands. This is dangerous, I say, but I don't step away. The most worthwhile things usually are, he replies. When he reaches up to cup my face in his hands, I don't resist. This time, I'm the one who closes the distance between us. This time, I'm the one who initiates the kiss. We kissed. It's different from last night, hungrier, more urgent, with less uncertainty and more intent. I can feel years of loneliness and neglect melting away under the warmth of his mouth, can feel parts of myself that I'd thought were dead stirring back to life. When we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard. Elizabeth, he says my name like a prayer, like a promise. I know, I whisper. I know this changes everything. Are you ready for everything to change? The question hangs between us, loaded with implications I'm not sure I'm ready to face. But when I look into his eyes, I see something I haven't seen reflected back at me in years: desire, yes, but more than that. I see someone who truly sees me, who values me, who wants me for more than what I can do for him. I think I've been ready for a long time, I admit. I just didn't know it. The rest of the afternoon passes in a haze of conversation and stolen touches. We talk about everything and nothing: books we've read, places we'd like to travel, dreams we've had to set aside. William tells me about his work as a professor before retirement, about the students who kept him young, about the satisfaction of watching minds expand and grow. I find myself telling him things I've never told anyone, about the novel I started writing years ago and abandoned, about the photography classes I've always wanted to take, about the trips I've planned in my head but never suggested to Jack because I knew he'd find practical reasons to say no. You could still do those things, William says. It's not too late to want more from life. As evening approaches, we both become aware that our bubble of intimacy is about to be burst by Sarah's return. The thought of going back to playing our roles, dutiful daughter-in-law and grieving widower, feels almost unbearable now. Tomorrow, William says quietly, Jack mentioned he has that all-day conference in the city. Yes, I reply, understanding immediately what he's suggesting. And Sarah will be at work. Yes. We could talk more. About what this means. About what happens next. But we both know we won't just be talking. I wake up before dawn, my body humming with anticipation and anxiety in equal measure. Jack is still sleeping beside me, and for a moment I'm struck by how peaceful he looks, how young the years fall away from his face in sleep. A wave of guilt crashes over me so powerfully that I have to grip the edge of the mattress to steady myself. What am I doing? This is my husband of 22 years, the father of my child, the man who has provided for us and protected us and never once raised his voice to me in anger. He doesn't deserve this betrayal, even if he has taken me for granted, even if our marriage has become more partnership than passion. But then Jack's alarm goes off, and he immediately reaches for his phone instead of me, scrolling through emails before his feet even hit the floor. He showers and dresses with efficient precision, drops a distracted kiss on my forehead, and reminds me to call the landscaping company about the sprinkler system. He's out the door before I've even finished my first cup of coffee, and with his departure, the guilt begins to fade. This is what our marriage has become. I am a convenience, a service provider, a beautiful piece of furniture that makes the house look complete. The realization doesn't make what I'm about to do right, but it makes it understandable. Sarah leaves for work an hour later, chattering about some drama between her coworkers. She hugs me goodbye and tells me she might be late tonight. She's thinking of going to a movie with friends after the gallery closes. Perfect. William and I don't discuss our plans over breakfast. We don't need to. The intention has been hovering between us since yesterday, unspoken but understood. When he suggests a drive to the lake about an hour outside town, the one where he and Margaret used to have picnics, I simply nod and go upstairs to change. I stand in front of my closet for longer than necessary, considering my options. What does one wear to commit adultery with one's father-in-law? The absurdity of the question almost makes me laugh, except there's nothing funny about what I'm contemplating. Finally, I choose a simple blue sundress that William complimented once, and I try not to think too hard about why his opinion matters more to me right now than my husband's. The drive to the lake passes in comfortable conversation mixed with charged silences. William tells me about bringing Margaret here when they were dating, about the promises they made to each other sitting on the dock, about the way she looked in the late afternoon light. I should feel jealous or uncomfortable, but instead I feel honored that he's sharing these memories with me. She would understand, he says quietly as we pull into the empty parking area. Margaret always said that love was meant to be shared, not hoarded. The lake is beautiful and deserted, surrounded by tall pines that seem to shelter us from the outside world. We walk to the end of the dock and sit with our feet dangling in the water, watching dragonflies skim across the surface. I keep waiting for the guilt to stop me, I admit. And? It's there, but it's not stronger than this. I gesture between us, this pull that seems to defy logic and propriety and everything I thought I knew about myself. William takes my hand, intertwining our fingers. I haven't felt this way since Margaret was young. I'd forgotten what it was like to want to know everything about someone, to want to make them smile, to want to be the reason they feel beautiful. Is that what you want? To make me feel beautiful? Elizabeth, you are beautiful. But more than that, you're alive in a way I don't think you've been allowed to be in a long time. He's right. Sitting here with him, I feel like I'm waking up from a long sleep. The colors seem brighter, the air sweeter, my skin more sensitive to every breeze. I feel hyper-aware of my body in a way I haven't in years, the way the dress moves against my legs, the warmth of the sun on my shoulders, the steady pulse of desire low in my belly. There's a small inn about 10 minutes from here, William says carefully. Nothing fancy, but it's clean and quiet. The suggestion hangs between us like a bridge I can either cross or turn away from. I think about Jack, probably sitting in his conference room right now, thinking about market projections and client strategies. I think about Sarah, laughing with her coworkers, young and carefree and certain that her parents' marriage is as solid as bedrock. I think about myself, 47 years old and feeling invisible in my own life, wondering if this is all there is until death do us part. Yes, I say simply. The inn is exactly as William described, small, clean, discreet. The elderly woman at the front desk doesn't blink when William registers us as Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, and I don't correct her. For this afternoon, I want to be Mrs. Anderson, a woman whose husband looks at her like she's precious, whose husband chose her over a business conference. The room is simple but charming, with white linen curtains and a view of the mountains. William closes the door behind us, and suddenly the enormity of what we're doing hits me. I'm about to cross a line I can never uncross, about to change the fundamental nature of who I am. We don't have to, William says gently, reading my expression. We could just talk. Just be together without the weight of our roles. But I'm tired of talking, tired of thinking, tired of being careful and appropriate and dutiful. For once in my adult life, I want to choose passion over prudence, desire over duty. I whisper. I want to feel alive again. When he kisses me this time, it's with the certainty of two people who have made their choice. And when he whispers my name against my lips like it's sacred, I finally understand what I've been missing all these years. We spent the night together. I wake up in a bed that isn't mine, in a room filled with afternoon light, next to a man who isn't my husband. For a moment, disorientation clouds my thoughts. Where am I? How did I get here? Then memory floods back, and with it, a complex cocktail of emotions I'm not prepared to handle. William is still sleeping beside me, his silver hair mussed, his face peaceful in a way I've rarely seen it. He looks younger somehow, the lines of grief and loneliness softened by contentment. I watch him breathe and try to reconcile this tender, passionate man with the proper father-in-law who sits at our dinner table every night. What have I done? The question echoes in my mind as I carefully slip from the bed and pad to the bathroom. I catch sight of myself in the mirror and barely recognize the woman staring back. My hair is tangled, my lips are swollen from kissing, and there's a glow in my cheeks that has nothing to do with makeup. I look like a woman who has been thoroughly loved, and the sight both thrills and terrifies me. I am an adulteress now. The word feels strange and archaic, like something from a Victorian novel, but there's no escaping its truth. I have betrayed my marriage vows, broken the trust of a man who has never given me reason to doubt his fidelity, and crossed a boundary that will forever change the landscape of my family. And yet, as I splash cold water on my face and try to organize my thoughts, I can't bring myself to regret it entirely. For the first time in years, I feel like myself, not just Jack's wife or Sarah's mother, but Elizabeth. A woman with desires and needs and a beating heart that demands more than duty and routine. William stirs as I return to the bedroom, his eyes finding mine immediately. "Good morning, beautiful," he says softly, and the simple endearment nearly brings me to tears. "Is it still morning?" I ask, glancing at the window where the light suggests otherwise. Does it matter? He's right, of course. Time has felt suspended since we walked into this room, the outside world held at bay by curtains and closed doors. But it's starting to seep back in now, reality reasserting itself with every tick of the bedside clock. "We should head back," I say reluctantly. "Sarah will be home soon, and if Jack calls..." William nods, understanding immediately. We dress in silence, both of us hyper-aware that with each piece of clothing we put on, we're rebuilding the walls between us. By the time we're fully dressed, we look like what we're supposed to be, a devoted daughter-in-law and her widowed father-in-law, nothing more. The drive home passes in contemplative quiet. I stare out the window at the familiar landscape and wonder if everything looks different now because I'm different, or if I'm just imagining the change. When William reaches over to take my hand, I don't pull away, but I don't squeeze back either. The guilt is starting to build again, a heavy weight in my chest that grows with every mile closer to home. "Elizabeth," William says as we turn onto our street. "I don't want you to regret this." "I don't," I say quickly, then pause. "At least, I don't think I do." "It's complicated." "It doesn't have to be." But it is complicated, impossibly so. Because as we pull into our driveway, I can see Jack's car already there. He's home early from his conference. My pulse spikes with panic. How long has he been here? Did he notice we were both gone? What will I say if he asks where I've been? We enter through the front door together, and I'm struck by how normal everything looks. The same furniture, the same family photos on the mantle, the same sense of established life that I've been living in for over 2 decades. Nothing has changed, and yet everything has changed. "There you are," Jack calls from the kitchen. "I've been looking for you." My heart hammers against my ribs as we join him, but his expression is merely curious, not suspicious. "Dad said you two went to run some errands. How was your day?" "Fine," I manage, hoping my voice sounds normal. "How was the conference?" "You're home earlier than expected." "Boring as hell, so I decided to cut out early." Figured we could have a nice family dinner together. He drops a quick kiss on my cheek, and I have to fight not to flinch. Can he smell William's cologne on my skin? Can he sense that something fundamental has shifted? But Jack seems oblivious, already moving on to discuss dinner plans. He suggests ordering from our favorite Italian place, asks William about his day, mentions that Sarah called to say she'll be home by 7. Normal, domestic conversation that feels surreal after the afternoon I've just had. I excuse myself to go change clothes, needing a few minutes alone to collect myself. In our bedroom, mine and Jack's, I sit on the edge of the bed and try to process what I've done. This is the bed where Jack and I have slept for over 20 years, where we conceived Sarah, where we've shared thousands of ordinary nights. It feels like a sanctuary I've defiled simply by sitting here with the memory of another man's touch still warm on my skin. When I come back downstairs, William catches my eye across the kitchen, and I see my own confusion reflected back at me. How do we go back to normal family interactions after what we've shared? How do I look at him across the dinner table and pretend I don't know how he tastes, how he says my name when he's lost in passion? Sarah bounds through the front door just as the food arrives, full of stories about her day and complaints about her coworkers. She hugs each of us in turn, and when she reaches William, I have to look away. The easy affection between them, grandfather and granddaughter, suddenly feels like an accusation. We sit around the dinner table like we have hundreds of times before, but I feel like an actress playing a role I no longer understand. Jack talks about his conference, Sarah chatters about her plans for the weekend, and William listens with his usual attentive kindness. To anyone looking in from the outside, we're the picture of a happy, stable family. But underneath the table, I can feel William's presence like an electric current. Every time he speaks, every time he laughs at Sarah's jokes, every time he passes me the salt, I'm hyper-aware of his hands, his voice, the way he moves. The intimacy we shared this afternoon has created a secret language between us, and I'm terrified that somehow our family will learn to read it. As the evening winds down and we all head to our respective rooms, I realize that this is my new reality. I will have to sit across from William at breakfast tomorrow morning and pretend that nothing has changed. I will have to kiss my husband goodnight and lie next to him in our marriage bed while my body still remembers another man's touch. I will have to learn to live with this secret, this beautiful, terrible secret that has awakened something in me I thought was dead forever. The question is, can I do it? Can I go back to being just Elizabeth the wife and mother, or have I crossed a line that makes that impossible? As I brush my teeth and prepare for bed, I catch my reflection in the bathroom mirror again. The woman looking back at me still has that glow, that sense of being fully alive. And I realize with a mixture of terror and exhilaration that I don't want to give that up. I don't want to go back to being invisible. Not anymore. I don't want to go back to being invisible. Not anymore. The thought follows me into sleep and greets me when I wake up. Jack is already in the shower, he has an early meeting with a new client, and I lie in bed staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how to navigate this new reality I've created for myself. The past week has been a careful dance of stolen glances and innocent conversations, of sitting across from William at dinner and pretending my pulse doesn't quicken every time he speaks. We haven't been alone together since that afternoon at the inn, but the memory of it hangs between us like a secret thread, invisible to everyone else but strong enough to change the entire dynamic of our household. Sarah has noticed something, though she can't put her finger on what. Yesterday she asked if I was feeling all right, said I seemed different somehow, happier, but also distracted. I assured her I was fine, just tired from the heat, but I caught her studying me with those perceptive eyes that see more than I give her credit for. Jack, predictably, has noticed nothing. If anything, he's been more absent than usual, staying late at the office, bringing work home on weekends. Last night he fell asleep reading case files in bed, and I found myself grateful for his inattention in a way that made me feel both relieved and profoundly sad. This morning, as I make breakfast, William joins me in the kitchen earlier than usual. Sarah isn't up yet, and Jack is still getting ready upstairs. We have perhaps 10 minutes of privacy, and the awareness of it makes the air between us electric. "I've been thinking," he says quietly, reaching around me for the coffee mugs. His arm brushes against mine, and the simple contact sends heat racing through my veins. "About what?" "About us. About what happens next." The question I've been avoiding for a week. I busy myself with scrambling eggs, needing something to do with my hands. I don't know if there is a next. Maybe it was just something that needed to happen once. Was it? I can feel him watching me, waiting for an honest answer. The truth is, I've thought about that afternoon at the inn every day since it happened. I've replayed every moment, every touch, every whispered word. I've woken up reaching for him instead of Jack, and I've had to bite my tongue to keep from saying his name at the most inappropriate moments. No, I admit. It wasn't Elizabeth. The way he says my name makes me turn to face him. I know this is complicated. I know what we're risking. But I can't pretend it didn't happen, and I can't pretend I don't want it to happen again. The confession hangs between us, dangerous and thrilling. I want to tell him that I feel the same way, that I've been going quietly insane trying to act normal when all I want is to lose myself in him again. But before I can respond, we hear footsteps on the stairs. "Mom, have you seen my oh?" Sarah appears in the kitchen doorway, stopping short when she sees how close William and I are standing. "Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt." "You're not interrupting anything," I say quickly, taking a step back. "What were you looking for?" "My gallery badge. I thought I left it down here." Her eyes flick between William and me, and I can see her trying to process what she walked in on. "Is everything okay?" You both look, I don't know, tense? "Everything's fine, sweetheart," William says smoothly. "Your grandmother and I were just discussing some repairs needed around the house. You know how these old places can be." It's a reasonable explanation, and Sarah seems to accept it, but I notice she continues to watch us throughout breakfast. When Jack joins us, distracted and checking his phone, she makes conversation easily enough, but her attention keeps drifting back to William and me. After everyone leaves for the day, I find myself alone in the house for the first time since the inn. The silence feels loaded with possibility and danger. I throw myself into cleaning, scrubbing the bathrooms and organizing closets, anything to keep my mind occupied and my body busy. But when William returns from his morning walk, a new routine he's adopted since moving in, I abandon all pretense of domestic productivity. "We need to talk," I say before he's even fully through the door. Yes, we do. We end up in the living room, sitting on opposite ends of the sofa like we're negotiating a business deal instead of discussing the affair that's consumed my thoughts for days. The distance feels both necessary and absurd. "This has to stop," I begin, but the words sound hollow even to me. "Does it?" "William, be serious. What we did was what? Beautiful? Honest? The most alive either of us has felt in months?" "It was adultery," I say bluntly. "I cheated on your son with you. Do you understand how that sounds? How it would destroy this family if anyone found out? And do you understand that you're withering away in a marriage that stopped nourishing you years ago?" The observation hits like a physical blow because it's so accurate. I have been withering, slowly dying inside while maintaining the perfect exterior. But that doesn't make what we're doing right. "Jack is a good man," I say weakly. "Jack is a good man who takes you for granted. Who hasn't really seen you in years. Who treats you like a lovely piece of furniture that requires occasional dusting but no real attention? I want to argue, to defend my husband, but the words won't come because William is right. When was the last time Jack asked me about my dreams, my fears, my hopes for the future? When was the last time he looked at me like I was fascinating rather than familiar? Even if that's true, I say, it doesn't justify this. What about Sarah? What about our family? What about your life, Elizabeth? What about your happiness? The question hangs in the air between us, unanswerable and essential. I think about Sarah's observation that I seem different lately, happier but distracted. Is it so wrong to want to feel alive? Is it so selfish to crave passion and connection and the intoxicating sensation of being truly desired? I don't know how to do this, I whisper finally. Neither do I, William admits. I never thought I'd be in this position, never imagined I could feel this way about someone again, especially not. He trails off, but we both know what he was going to say. Especially not his son's wife. So what do? We could stop, he says carefully. Pretend it never happened. Go back to being the people we were before. Could you do that? Could you? The honest answer is no. I couldn't go back to sleepwalking through my life, not now that I know what it feels like to be awake. I couldn't sit across from William at dinner every night and pretend I don't know how his mouth tastes, how he whispers my name like a prayer. There's another option, William says quietly. I look at him, afraid to ask but needing to know. We could be careful. Discreet. Take what happiness we can find without hurting anyone else. The suggestion is both thrilling and terrifying. An affair, conducted right under my family's nose. Secret meetings, stolen moments, a double life that would require me to become someone I never thought I could be. That's incredibly risky, I say. Yes, it is. We could lose everything. We could. Or we could finally have something worth having. I close my eyes, trying to think clearly, but all I can see is that woman in the inn's bathroom mirror, glowing, alive, beautiful. Can I really give her up? Can I go back to being invisible Elizabeth, dutiful wife and mother, when I now know what it feels like to be seen, desired, cherished? When I open my eyes, William is watching me with an expression that's equal parts hope and resignation. He's leaving the choice to me, and somehow that makes it even harder. If we did this, I say slowly, there would have to be rules. Boundaries. We can't risk Sarah finding out, or Jack. Agreed. And if it ever feels like we're going to be caught, or if it becomes too complicated, we stop. No questions asked. I nod, though my heart is racing at the implications of what we're discussing. I need time to think. Of course. But even as I say it, I think we both know I've already made my decision. The only question now is whether I'm brave enough to live with the consequences. 3 weeks into our carefully orchestrated secret, I've become someone I don't recognize. I've learned to lie with smooth confidence, to create elaborate fictional errands that give William and me hours alone together. I've discovered hidden reserves of creativity when it comes to explaining my absences, my improved mood, the new clothes I've started buying. Today, I told Jack I was driving to the city to visit my college roommate who's supposedly having marital problems. The lie rolled off my tongue so easily it scared me. Instead, William and I spent the afternoon at a small cafe 2 towns over, holding hands across a table like teenagers, talking about books and dreams and the way the light falls across my face when I laugh. We've been careful, painfully, meticulously careful. We never touch when anyone else is around. We communicate through glances and the briefest brushes of fingers when passing dishes at dinner. We've only been intimate twice more since that first afternoon, and each time required elaborate planning that would make a CIA operative proud. But the strain is beginning to show, at least for me. I catch myself studying my reflection obsessively, wondering if guilt is visible on my face. I jump every time the phone rings unexpectedly. I've started keeping track of every story I tell, every excuse I make, terrified of contradicting myself. Sarah has definitely noticed something. Last week she asked point blank if I was having an affair, and I was so shocked by the directness of the question that I nearly choked on my coffee. What would make you ask something like that? I managed. I don't know. You're just different. You're happier, but also secretive. You disappear for hours and come back with this weird glow. And you keep buying new underwear. That last observation made my blood run cold. I didn't realize she'd noticed my shopping habits. I'm allowed to buy new underwear, aren't I? Maybe I'm just finally taking better care of myself. Sarah studied me with those sharp eyes that miss nothing. Are you happy, Mom? I mean, really happy? With Dad? The question caught me completely off guard. In all her 19 years, Sarah has never directly questioned the state of my marriage. I struggled to find an answer that wasn't a complete lie. Marriage is complicated, sweetheart. It's not always about happiness. Sometimes it's about commitment and family and doing what's right. That's not really an answer. It's the only answer I have. She didn't push further, but I could see her filing the conversation away for future reference. My daughter is too smart for her own good, and definitely too smart for mine. Today, as I drive home from another afternoon with William, I'm lost in thought about the impossible situation I've created. We can't keep this up indefinitely. Something has to give, and I'm terrified of what that might be. I'm so distracted that I almost missed the unfamiliar car in our driveway. Almost. But as I pull up to the house, I recognize it with a sick jolt of panic. It's my sister Linda's car. Linda, who lives 3 states away and never visits without weeks of advance planning. Linda, who supposedly thinks I'm in the city comforting my college roommate. My hands shake as I turn off the engine. What is she doing here? How long has she been here? What has she said to Jack and Sarah? I walk into the house on unsteady legs, my mind racing through possible explanations and damage control strategies. I can hear voices from the living room, Linda's laugh, Jack's deeper tones, Sarah chattering excitedly about her aunt's surprise visit. Elizabeth. Linda jumps up when I appear in the doorway, enveloping me in a hug. Surprise! I was in the area for work and thought I'd drop by. Jack said you were visiting Jenny? How is she doing with her divorce? The question hangs in the air like a trap. Linda knows Jenny, we all went to college together. If Linda decides to call Jenny, or mentions this visit in casual conversation later, my entire fabricated story will crumble. She's managing, I say carefully. It's been a difficult time. I'm sure. You're such a good friend for being there for her. Though you look wonderful, positively glowing. This crisis management suits you. I force a laugh, hyper-aware of how I must look. Hair slightly mussed from William's fingers, lips probably still swollen from kissing, wearing the new perfume I bought specifically because he said it smelled like spring flowers. Where's Dad? I ask, suddenly realizing William isn't in the room. He went for a walk when I got here, Jack says. Said he wanted to give us family time. He should be back soon. Relief floods through me, followed immediately by a new wave of anxiety. William doesn't know Linda is here. What if he comes back and says something that contradicts my story? I should call him, I say, reaching for my phone. Let him know we have company. Already tried, Sarah says. His phone must be dead. But he never walks for more than an hour, so he'll be back soon. I excuse myself to freshen up, needing a moment to collect myself and think. In the bathroom, I stare at my reflection and try to see what Linda saw. Do I really look that different? Is it that obvious that I'm having an affair? When I come back downstairs, Linda has made herself comfortable and is regaling Jack and Sarah with stories from her job. She's always been the dramatic one in our family, full of gossip and observations about everyone else's life. Under normal circumstances, I enjoy her visits. Today, I feel like I'm sitting on a bomb that could explode at any moment. 20 minutes later, I hear the front door open, and my entire body tenses. That must be Grandpa, Sarah says, jumping up to greet him. William appears in the living room doorway, and his eyes immediately find mine. I see the flash of surprise and concern when he notices Linda, but to his credit, his expression doesn't change beyond normal pleasantries. Linda, he says warmly, moving forward to embrace my sister. What a wonderful surprise. Elizabeth didn't mention you were coming. It was completely last minute, Linda replies. I was just telling everyone how good Elizabeth looks. She was visiting poor Jenny today, you remember Jenny from college? She's going through an awful divorce. William's face remains perfectly composed, but I catch the slight tightening around his eyes. Yes, of course. Jenny. Such a shame about her marriage. Elizabeth has always been such a devoted friend, Linda continues. Though I have to say, these mercy missions seem to be doing you good, sis. You look like a woman in love. The words hit the room like a thunderclap. Jack looks up from his phone with mild interest, Sarah laughs and makes a joke about middle-aged romance, and William maintains his pleasant expression. But I feel like I'm drowning. Don't be silly, I manage. I'm just trying to stay active, take better care of myself. Well, whatever you're doing, keep it up. You haven't looked this happy in years. The conversation moves on, but I can barely follow it. Linda's observation echoes in my head, you look like a woman in love. Is it that obvious? Can everyone see what I'm desperately trying to hide? As the evening progresses, I find myself watching William interact with my family and wondering how we ever thought we could keep this secret. Every shared glance feels like a beacon, every moment of awareness between us seems to crackle with electricity that surely everyone must notice. When Linda finally leaves, promising to call tomorrow, I feel like I've survived a battlefield. But as I watch her car disappear down the street, I realize this was just a warning shot. If my own sister can see that something has changed, how long before Jack notices? How long before Sarah puts the pieces together? That night, lying in bed next to my oblivious husband, I stare at the ceiling and face an uncomfortable truth: this can't continue. The secret is too big, the risk too great, the strain too much. Something has to change, and soon. The decision crystallizes 3 days later, not in a moment of dramatic revelation but in the mundane reality of Tuesday morning breakfast. I'm pouring coffee while Jack scrolls through his phone, Sarah complains about her work schedule, and William reads the newspaper with the same quiet attention he brings to everything. We look like a normal family having a normal morning, except I'm dying inside from the weight of pretending. That's when my phone buzzes with a text from Linda, can't stop thinking about how radiant you looked. Whatever's making you so happy, don't let it go. Life's too short not to follow your heart. The irony of my sister's advice hits me like a slap. She thinks she's encouraging me to embrace joy, but what she's really doing is pointing out how unsustainable my situation has become. I can't live split between two worlds indefinitely. Eventually, something will crack, and when it does, the damage will be devastating. After Jack and Sarah leave, William and I find ourselves alone in the kitchen, as we have so many mornings recently. But today feels different. There's a heaviness in the air that we both recognize. Your sister sees a lot, William says quietly. Too much. Are you having second thoughts? The question I've been dreading. I look at him, this man who has made me feel alive again, who has reminded me what it's like to be desired and cherished and seen. The man who is also my husband's father, my daughter's grandfather, the foundation of a secret that could destroy everything I've built over 22 years. I think about what we're doing every minute of every day, I admit. I think about the risk we're taking, the people we could hurt. But then I think about going back to the way things were, and I can't breathe. William moves closer, not touching me but close enough that I can smell his cologne, feel the warmth radiating from his body. What if we didn't have to choose between those two options? What do you mean? What if we could find a way to be together without destroying your family? I stare at him, not understanding. How is that possible? William is quiet for a long moment, clearly choosing his words carefully. I've been thinking about this for weeks. About us, about what we both need, about what's fair to everyone involved. And? I think I should move out. The words hit me like ice water. What? No. William, that would raise too many questions. Jack would want to know why, Sarah would be upset. I would tell them I need my own space to grieve properly. That living here, surrounded by family happiness, makes it harder for me to process losing Margaret. It's not entirely untrue. I can see the logic in what he's suggesting, but the thought of him leaving terrifies me. If you move out, when would we even see each other? How would we? We would figure it out. Carefully. Quietly. But without the constant stress of hiding under your family's roof. The plan has merit, I can see that. But it also feels like the beginning of the end somehow. Jack will try to talk you out of it. He'll feel guilty, like he's abandoning you. I'll make it clear that it's my choice, my need. He'll understand. We spend the morning discussing the logistics, the timing, how to present this decision to the family. By the time Jack comes home for lunch, a rare occurrence that makes my pulse spike with panic, we have our story straight. Dad wants to talk to us about something, Jack says as we gather around the kitchen table. Sarah is at work, so it's just the three of us. William clears his throat, and I marvel at how calm he appears. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about my living situation. About what I need to heal properly after losing your mother. Jack immediately looks concerned. Is everything okay? Are we making you uncomfortable somehow? Not at all. You've all been wonderful, more generous than I had any right to expect. But I think I need my own space. Somewhere I can sort through Margaret's things properly, somewhere I can grieve without feeling like I'm bringing everyone else down. Dad, you're not bringing anyone down. We love having you here. I know you do. But I've found a nice apartment across town. 2 bedrooms, good light, close to the library. I think it's time. I watched Jack process this information, see him struggle between respecting his father's wishes and feeling like he's somehow failing in his duty as a son. It breaks my heart to see him blame himself for William's decision, but I can't comfort him without revealing the truth. If that's what you really want, Jack says slowly, then of course we'll support you. But promise me you'll still come for Sunday dinners. Promise me you won't shut us out. I could never shut you out. You're my family. The conversation continues, but I find myself barely able to participate. The reality of what we're setting in motion feels overwhelming. William will move out, we'll have to find new ways to see each other, and I'll have to go back to playing the perfect wife while carrying this secret that grows heavier every day. That evening, we tell Sarah about William's decision. She's upset at first, worried that she did something wrong, but William handles her concerns with the same gentle patience he shows everyone. Watching him comfort my daughter while planning to continue an affair with me creates such cognitive dissonance that I feel physically ill. Later, alone in my bedroom, I stare at my reflection and try to recognize the woman looking back at me. 3 months ago, I was a faithful wife who prided herself on her moral standards. Now I'm a woman planning secret meetings with her father-in-law, lying to her family daily, and justifying adultery as a form of self-preservation. The phone on my nightstand buzzes with a text from William. "Are you okay with this plan?" I stare at the message for a long time before responding. I don't know if I'm okay with any of this anymore. His reply comes quickly. "We can still stop. We can end this now, before it goes any further." My fingers hover over the keyboard. This is my out, my chance to step back from the precipice and return to my safe, predictable, suffocating life. I could delete his number, avoid being alone with him during his remaining time in our house, and go back to being invisible Elizabeth who never rocks the boat. Instead, I type, "I can't stop." I don't know what that makes me, but I can't stop. Then we'll figure it out. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. I set the phone aside and lie back against my pillows, listening to Jack's steady breathing beside me. Tomorrow he'll start looking for boxes to help his father move. Sarah will probably cry when William actually leaves. And I'll continue this double life that's slowly tearing me apart. But for the first time in months, I'm not thinking about what I should do or what would be right for everyone else. I'm thinking about what I want, what makes me feel alive, what gives my life meaning beyond duty and obligation. Maybe Linda was right. Maybe life really is too short not to follow your heart. Even if your heart is leading you somewhere dangerous. Even if following it means becoming someone you never thought you could be. Even if the price of happiness is higher than you ever imagined you'd be willing to pay. I close my eyes and try to sleep, but my mind is already planning our next meeting, already anticipating the moment when I can drop the mask and just be Elizabeth again, the Elizabeth who exists only in William's arms, who is seen and desired and cherished. The Elizabeth I'm not sure I can live without anymore, consequences be damned.